welcome, Out Louders, friends, to our Friday show. It's what women are talking about on Friday, the 17th of October. I feel like I haven't reminded the Out Louders for a while, although I know they know.
Yeah.
That on Fridays, we don't mess with the real world.
Mm-mm.
We don't do news. We don't do doom scrolls.
That's why I'm here on a Friday.
That's why we bring him. On Friday, we want to send you into the weekend with good vibes, something interesting to think about, and, of course, recommendations. So who else is with me here today?
I'm Jessie Stevens. I don't know why I'm here for the good vibes, but
You're here to balance the good vibes.
Okay, yeah. We don't want to
Give
get
me
too happy.
the grump here.
You're bringing a lot of vibes. You've got all these people inside you.
Yeah. Did you know I have
A little apartment.
6 arms and 6 legs?
Oh, my God.
I don't like
About
that.
often. And maybe 2 penises. So
Wow, I like that.
I might not
exciting.
be getting a lot, but I have 2 penises inside me. So who's winning?
If in case anyone is confused, Jessie Stevens is pregnant with twins.
And
Anyway.
the advertisers of today's show are really upset.
And I'm Em Burnham. I don't have any inside me.
Currently.
right
Currently.
I
now.
don't know. If you listen to our episode about what we did yesterday, that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, here's what made our agenda for this Friday. Oh, friends, they're just like family, aren't they? Well, apparently, if you're treating your friends like family, you're doing it wrong.
Plus, the bus tour you did through Europe in your 20s is dead.
Oh.
Young people have been clear about what they want, and it is very different to the travel of the past.
And something to read, something to listen to, and something to slap on your face. It is our recommendations.
But first, chatfishing. It's a thing that's happening on dating apps. As if the modern world wasn't making dating hard enough. Am I right?
Correct.
I'm about to send this to you, my friend. Now we're having to deal with the fact that all that chatty banter you might be having with that person you matched with is really just you talking to a robot. Do you know what chatfishing is, and have you encountered it?
I do know what chatfishing is. I'm annoyed that I wasn't the person who came up with that term because it's so good.
I know. So what is it?
So it's basically where people on dating apps are now using AI, so like ChatGPT, to kind of have the conversation for their dates.
So when you match, you usually do a bit of back and forth, right? On the apps, like
got to make sure we're all normal, we're being safe.
Friendly banter.
Yeah, just like, hey,
lols.
how are you? How are you? And they're getting the ChatGPT to go, how are you? How are you?
Have you ever used ChatGPT as a little bit of a prompt for like what question should I ask? How should I respond? Does this make me look normal?
You absolutely know I have.
Okay.
So you're talking to their bot.
Well, I'm not really in the actual initial dating stages. I feel like I'm quite a good speaker. And I can actually have a conversation with someone. But I think I talked about on the podcast, I've used ChatGPT services when things are going a bit,
Is this guy ghosting me? You did once ask the robot that. But the example that I saw in this article I read is that a woman had been having really good banter with a guy that she wanted to meet. And he'd been quite emotionally intelligent and like talking about attachment styles, and they'd been having a proper like exchange. And then she goes to the pub to meet him for that in real life date, but the chemistry is not there. He's not the guy who talks about attachment styles. The banter is gone, and she realizes, he was asking ChatGPT for like good banter.
Yeah.
But she also slept with him, and she felt as though she slept with him on the basis of their banter and just put his personality down to nerves, and then kind of went, oh no, I've been completely essentially catfished.
She went on a second date and she was like, I've been catfished. But I also wanted to read out the message she received, like the very first message she got from this man. It said, I've been reading a bit about attachment styles lately. It's helped me to understand myself better. And the type of partner I would be looking for. Have you ever looked at yours? Do you know what your attachment style is?
What are
you saying?
I am blocking that man because he just used ChatGPT to ask me a question.
And what was your tell?
Okay, there's a few things. Firstly, men talking about attachment styles. You don't know. You don't know. The dash is a big tell. And also 2 questions instead of 1 or 0 questions.
Oh.
Yeah, that's clearly a robot.
Clearly a robot.
Is there anything endearing about a guy maybe using ChatGPT to help improve his banter?
I would think so.
At
I
least
think
they're trying.
the fact that you really want to try and you really want to sleep with me.
But there was a man in the article who said, I want to start a conversation that feels meaningful from the beginning so I can hook the other person in, which sounds quite like fine. But also, I don't want to spend too much time on it. And I'm like, that's so ugly. The problem.
You know, it shows that tale as old as time, right? Because there's a very famous play from ye olde times called Cyrano de Bergerac, which was turned into a classic 80s comedy with Steve Martin and Daryl Hannah. And what that's about is a guy who's like a bit not like he's not articulate, but he's really hot. Mm-hmm. And woman really likes him. And so hot guy gets nerdy guy to write all the love letters. I feel like this is a plot in lots of rom-coms. Yeah. And so hot guy gets nerdy guy to write all the love letters. She falls in love with the love letters. But when she gets together with the guy, he's just like monosyllabic. This has been around a long time, but now it's back with an AI twist.
Yeah, except in that scenario, we have the option to fall in love with the nerdy guy.
Because that's what happens in the rom-coms.
We can't fall in love with ChatGPT. I mean, some of us are, but I've had a lot of men use ChatGPT in messaging me, except they're a bit not good at it. So one time I had this guy, I had something in my profile that said how I don't like gin martinis. I know you love a gin martini, Hol.
I do.
And I got a message from this guy saying, hey, lovely to match with you. I have to admit, I really like gin martinis, in quotation marks. That whole message was in quotes.
Oh, it was in quotes.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So do you think that he put your profile into ChatGPT as the prompt?
ChatGPT has my whole profile.
What's a good first approach to this girl?
And it probably gave him like 3 options and he just copied and pasted with the quote marks.
Maybe though, you know, like the woman who wrote this article, maybe you could have sex with the real guy and then all your relationship could be conducted over text with his better robot self, and that could be quite satisfying.
It's like the movie Her by Joaquin Phoenix in it.
Art.
The bus tour you did through Europe in your 20s is dead, and I feel very sad. Now, who here did one of these tours? Holly?
Well, I did not, because English people don't do them.
No.
So, but I am adjacent to them because way back in the distant, like one of my first jobs I worked for, and why I ended up in Australia. Don't worry, I won't tell the long story. But I worked for this magazine in London that was like a free magazine for Aussies and Kiwi travellers. And that was a massive thing. This is like before the internet, really. So if Aussies and Cunty and Top Deck were our biggest advertisers. And that was the thing for all the Aussies and Kiwis to do. And proper travellers, in inverted commas, were a bit snooty about them. But everybody knew that Cunty was a good time.
Okay, so I have done one Cunty tour, which I did probably like 24 or something, and I did a Greek island hopping thing. It was about 14 days. And then I did a Top Deck tour. 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
19 countries, camping.
No, you didn't.
I did when I was 19.
That is a big commitment. That's a long time. What if you hate everyone?
Yeah. And that was, I reckon there were, 40 people on the bus.
Give me a time scale of how long ago this was. Because the thing that when I was reading all this, obviously it's not my world anymore, and I was kind of like, I didn't know those things still existed, but they've been popular for a really long time, right?
So that would have been about 13 years ago, and I had never been overseas, finished school and went, all I want is to go overseas, and I want to see the world. Like I have never experienced it. And
you just raw dog 19 countries.
And I just did 19 countries, camped in Paris, camped all over the place. Let's go to Poland for a day.
This is early noughties, and if this is you.
So it would have been like, let's go 2019.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh, 2019. I mean 2009.
2009. So late noughties. Sorry, neither of us can do maths. You're obviously younger again. Do you and your mates do Cunty tours?
A few of my friends in high school went on Cunty. I wasn't allowed.
Why weren't you allowed?
Once you're an adult, you do your own thing,
because
babes.
they were like, no. Firstly, no.
I'm misunderstanding.
You were misunderstanding. I still cannot do things without my parents' permission, and I'm 29 years old. I was around like 17, turning 18, which was like ideal time because I would have been 18 in Europe. I wasn't allowed because we were just hearing of all these stories.
It was a bit of fun, right? Yeah. But I can understand hesitation from parents.
And over that many days that you did it, there would be whole relationships and breakups.
Look, there was someone who was married at the beginning and wasn't at the end. It was.
Anyway, tell me why we're talking about them.
So They are, of course, youth-focused travel tours. They are popular in Europe, Asia, the US, Canada, and they are known for carting literally 40 people. Ages 18 to 39 was generally the vibe until recently.
There wouldn't have been anyone who was 34 on that trip, would there?
I'm trying to.
No one above 25.
Might have been, but the married woman was 34. Why wasn't her husband there? And she was getting with the boy from Manchester who was 19.
Of course she was.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So they go through multiple cities or countries, and the appeal really is that it's cheaper than you'd do it individually. And for many Australians, they're a rite of passage. But in an article that was published in the Sydney Morning Herald last week, it alerted us to the end of an era. Because Ben Groundwater writes, I worked on those Boozy Europe coach tours. I'm sad to see them go. And they haven't gone out of business, but this thing of having a 50-passenger coach that goes around.
Like a big bus.
Like a big bus, done. We're done with the bus. He writes that the camping tour has effectively been dead for years, which I didn't know. And it's all about small group journeys, so maximum 18 passengers. Top Deck has lowered their maximum age. 18-year-olds don't want to be with 39-year-olds anymore. 32 is your max. I've aged out. You've nearly aged out.
I'm nearly aged out.
And the tours generally
You're running out of time. You have to tell your mum. I'm sorry, Mum.
It won't be allowed.
And now they spend longer in each location. So this has all been driven by Gen Z being clear about what they want. They do not want a Boozy Europe trip. They'll say, I'll have a glass of wine or two, but I don't want to get drunk in Croatia.
Oh, come on.
Part of the Kentucky offering is now sunrise yoga and morning run clubs.
Oh, my worst nightmare.
That did not happen when I was there.
What worries me about this, Jessie, is that small group tours are really big for older people and older women, right? Like I've been on them. They're fantastic. I've been on some with the family. And they're all about sunrise yoga and run clubs. And it's like, why are the young people doing the same things as the old people?
I know. Well, this is interesting because it proves your point. Gen Z is also all about food. So none of this tour cook where he makes you a burger and you sit on your fold-out camp chair in Rome.
Is that what you were doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
They want to eat locally. So they want more freedom. And they also want to sort out their own itineraries because TikTok has already told them where they want to go. They don't need their guide to tell them where they're going to go.
So the research is a lot easier than it was back in your day.
And when I want to go to the Louvre and that Eiffel Tower thing and blah, 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 because I'd seen it in my Lonely Planet or whatever.
Yeah.
Now they want to go to a vintage shop that they saw and a cafe, and it's not as kind of mainstream as my thing would have been.
Like I was talking about how when I was lucky enough to go to Europe this summer with my family, and the main characterness of the Instagrammers everywhere was very apparent. That's kind of this, right?
Yes.
It's like you want to find your place to get your perfect pictures and find your experiences that you've all seen online. You don't want to necessarily have the tour guide guy going, we're all going to my mate Dave's cafe.
No, exactly right.
And you get there and it's like no one wants to take a picture of Dave's croissants.
No, and they also don't want to have their days all organised where we do this, this and this. They want more freedom. What do you think? There are some real upsides to this, but what do you think is lost with this kind of evolution towards within youth travel?
I think the best thing about traveling when you're younger is that you have stories to tell when you're older. And I feel like they're not going to have any fun stories to tell.
They might have got something in their vintage shop.
No, but they're not going to be arrested. If they get arrested in the vintage shop, then yes, I'm all on board because that's a good story. But if you're just doing like the fun, this is how I traveled when I was younger. I was only able to do like the safe types of travel, and I didn't get to really like be a rebel, and I didn't get to like sleep with men. I didn't get to get drunk. And
that's why you're making up for it now, darling.
That's why I'm on loose cannon right now. But like I actually never, when I was traveling when I was younger, like even when I was 21, I just never drank ever because I was so scared because I was just told it was really scary.
And dangerous.
And even like it said in the piece that they all started in London because like London was like English speaking and safe before you just went into.
You couldn't land in France.
No, oh my God, what would you do?
Too exotic. They don't even speak English, which reminded me that travel has become so much easier. With maps and with translators on our phone. It just means that thing of being scared in a foreign city where no one speaks the language you speak is less of an issue.
I think it's really interesting because we're always seeing these stats about how Gen Z drink less, are generally more sensible and aren't having as much sex.
It was just a bit messier,
Yeah.
15 years ago.
I think that there are much tighter regulations.
Yes, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing. But I had a quick look at the social media pages for some of these brands now. If you go and look at the Instagrams now, there are lots of gorgeous hot girls on various, at various sites, but it's much more sanitized. And I just think that's probably a good thing. But then I was thinking about it. I've got a daughter who is heading, she's in a few years, she'll be, and I really want her to go and travel when she's 18. Like I really do. I think Brent and I are both people who did a lot of that when we were young. But I would probably encourage her to do it on her own with a mate for the reasons that Jesse's just pointed out. You can. Your phone tells you everything. You go everywhere.
Which is exactly what I did. I went traveling with my cousin and it was amazing. But I think because you're put into an environment where you both have to fend for yourselves at such a young age before you even fend for yourselves at home, you just automatically become more aware of everything. You don't drink, you don't want to go out, but like in the environment where you're just following a schedule that everyone's doing and then you're just jumping on and off of a bus, you have like freedom to do as much as you want.
Yeah, in defense of the tour though, I think that there's an intensity to traveling one-on-one with someone that is diluted when there are other people around and when you can meet them and hang out for relationships, for siblings, for friends.
Did you go by yourself? Or did
No,
you go with a group?
I went with a boyfriend when I was 19. I went with Claire the other time.
Right, okay.
And that was, I think, really good for both relationships because it was fun to meet new people. I still am connected with a bunch of them. And I also think the value of a brilliant tour guide. There are things that I was told by that guide in Paris that I still remember that I will never read anywhere on the internet that she just happened to know. And I remember when I was in Tuscany a few years back and we were very much TikTok organised our holiday and we turned up at these hot springs. They were revolting. Like TikTok lied. And that's the thing is that TikTok can make something look beautiful and then you give yourself a 360 and go, this isn't where I want to go. Like there is something about verified travel experts telling you where to go, people who spend a lot of time there rather than someone who just wanted a photo in a hot tub, it's invaluable.
I think to your point too about if there's a place where you're a bit too young and a bit too green, if anything, to really be excited about being out in the world. I remember we used to go and do these questionnaires with backpackers. So we'd go and find a backpacker at Sydney Central or whatever and be like, what's the hardest thing about traveling on your own in Australia? And they'd say, doing my own washing.
Yeah.
Because they'd never lived out of home.
Yeah.
It's just like a backpack full of 2-minute noodles. Aww. And you're just like, maybe you need to live a little before you spread your wings. We need to talk about the word family, as in who is, who isn't, and what the difference is between people who are family and the people who are not. Are your friends, for example, your family? Is your workplace one big family? And if that's all true, is it a positive thing? First of all, I want to ask you two, do you consider some of your friends to be family?
No.
Really?
No. I wish I did.
Not one friend?
No. My friends are my friends and my family is my family.
Well, as we're about to discuss, Jessie, that might be very, very healthy.
But then Mia was my friend and now she's my family.
Well, yeah, it's very complicated. Your situation
so it sounds like you're just making your friends your family.
Your situation is quite complex.
Yeah. How do I get in?
I'm trying to think of a complicated way for you to get in.
Yeah, something scandalous.
Yes, it's definitely one of Jessie's brothers. That's the way it is.
My friends are my family. I would say so. I was not all of them. I feel like there's a specific 3 maybe that I would consider family. But I also don't know if they would consider me family.
Oh.
Does it have to go both ways?
I think it probably does. But I want to talk about what that means, right? Because we all think, the way that Jessie just said, I wish I did, we all think that that's a really positive thing to say. I treat my friends like family is a really positive thing. I definitely have friends who are family. I think that also the fact that I live far from my family has meant at times you build a family, you know. So I have, particularly in Sydney from the community where we had our kids and stuff, we have like literally my kids call them auntie and uncle. Like they are like family, right?
Yeah.
But we always say that as if it's a really positive thing. And I recently read this Substack that was positing that you absolutely should not treat your friends like family, because family relationships, and obviously this is generalization, but family relationships are often very boundaryless. You know, you expect, for example, your family to do things for you that you probably wouldn't ask a friend to do. You expect them to put up with behavior from you that you probably wouldn't expect a friend to, and so on and so forth. So if you are really treating your friends like family, you might actually be treating your friends quite badly. And I wondered, Jessie, if you were thinking about it, are there things that you expect from family that you just wouldn't expect from friends? Like from basic practical things like helping you move house at the drop of a hat to like putting up with you being depressed about a breakup for a year. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that the implication with the word family is, and I know this is not true for everyone and there are complicated, strained family dynamics, but for me is the word unconditional. My family love me because I exist. My friends don't love me because I exist. My friends love me because of the way I show up, or because of certain qualities, or because of I feel as though, and I don't know if this is necessarily healthy, but it's like my friendships aren't unconditional. They are very much like, and I've experienced friendship falling out. So someone moves to the other side of the world, or things change, priorities change, whatever. But I think I'm a better person to my friends.
Yes, and that's the key to this.
Yeah, and I think that's important, is that you show up and you go, like I suppose within families you play a role, and sometimes you they have a vision of who they want you to be, whereas you get to be completely yourself sometimes with your friends. And it's like we're going out to have a good time, and I'm going to ask these questions, and I'm going to look after you, and I don't know. I find them simpler in that way.
Do you feel like in that there's like an implicit expectation though that for your friends you have to perform like a better version of yourself?
Yes.
Because I think that maybe that's where the line goes. You know, like I think that real deep friendships you don't have to perform. Like I can go and I do have some friends I can go and sit on their couch like no makeup, tracky pants, and just whinge about life. You know what I mean? And then you have some friends who are very much like you put your lips, like metaphorically, not necessarily literally, you put your lipstick on for them. You know what I mean?
If you were having a big cry, who would you call first? I know it's really hard because it's the other side of the world and it's time difference. But would you want to call your mum, or would you want to call your friend?
My friend.
Yeah, see, I'd call my mum, or I'd call Claire. I think I'd go, I feel like that's shit I'm going to put on my family, because I know they've got time for it, and I would think twice before putting that on a friend.
It's really interesting. I kind of agree with you to an extent, but I have like my closest friends here, similar to you, Hol, have family who are either overseas or interstate, and they're single and they're here by themselves. And it was only recently where I realized the privilege I had of being able to go to my parents or my sister for things. And then I realized that I had to be that person for them, like things like moving, things like heartbreak. I think that's my responsibility as being their kind of family person in where they're living to do for them, because I don't have anyone else. And I sometimes don't do the same thing to them. And I don't think they would expect that either, because I have my family here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting because I don't think that your friends being like family should be the benchmark for all friendships. But I think that there are some friendships that drift that way, because we talk a lot about how friendships are often the most important relationships, or among the most important relationships of your life. And so they can go through phases just like any other relationship. Like I was listening to an episode of Sentimental Garbage with Dolly and Caroline O'Donoghue and Dolly Alderton. And they talked about how when they first got together as friends, every friend date was intense and it was carnage, and they were going to be out till 2 a.m. and it was amazing. But then they knew that when they had moved into a new era of friendship, it was when they could just go around and have takeaway pizza and be home by 10. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, I think that the friends who become like family, they've moved through that expectation phase.
But you don't think that all like close friends should go through that process? Because we do it for partners.
Yeah, but I think there's some beauty to having relationships that are still important to you but do have quite firm boundaries around them.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's, when I interview women who are older about their lives, they'll often say that their friendships have morphed into, it will be their girlfriends who sit beside them at their parents' funerals, who help them through those most difficult times of their lives. Yeah. And those kind of friendships are definitely family, I think. But the thing that's interesting is that we hold that family thing up as if it is the pinnacle, whereas very often it's actually the sort of dysfunctional mess. Like, as you say, Jessie, you can yell at your sister. I'm not saying you do. I'm sure you never yell at Claire ever. But like, you can yell at her or tell her things about herself that she doesn't want to hear, or put the knife in a way just because you're in a bad mood, which if you do that with a girlfriend too many times, she's gone.
Family dynamics bring you enormous joy, but they also inevitably bring you pain. Right? And whether that's that they're irritating you, that they are just like triggering something in you. My friendships at this stage in my life do not bring me pain, like any pain. They are just joy. So when I go out and hang out with them, and that's not to say that serious things don't happen in our lives, but we don't hurt each other maybe in the same way. So there's a real simplicity to my friendships that I value.
I want to bring it into the workplace quickly because for a while there, it was really fashionable for workplaces and businesses to say, we're just like a big family, or you're part of that family now, and to use family as a positive word in workplaces. But in recent times, it's very much been recast as being a red flag. Like if a workplace keeps telling you that they're family, does that again imply all those boundaryless things that we were just talking about? I've heard it said, for example, like often hospitality workplaces might be like families, or, any kind of intense high pressure situation, but that can often mean boundaries are crossed, expectations are too high. Like, what do you think? Do you think it's suspicious if your boss keeps telling you your family?
I think it's a way of saying,
particularly if she's your mother-in-law.
This your connection and your loyalty to this business ought to be unconditional. I think that's what you're saying. Like whether it's the hours or the expectations or the way this person treats you or what your manager asks of you, I think it's saying you ought to stay. And I've worked behind a bar where it was kind of like we're all a family. And then when I started working there, it was not like we're all a family. We just all went our separate ways and we never really talked again. Like it's just simply not like a family.
Also, don't say I'm your family and then like I mess up and then you fire me. Like you can't do that.
Exactly.
I think it's a huge red flags when workplaces say you're a family. But also, I feel like when you're a young worker, there's something about like an external being saying we're all family, where you're like, I'm in.
And you're looking for family, like, and depending on, and this is like for some communities and cultures, like it's so important to build chosen families because you're looking for that connection and belonging, right? But that can often mean you put it in the wrong way.
Yeah, but why don't you find my bad habits endearing? Why am I being performance managed, and why do you keep telling me to get off my phone?
Back to the friendship thing though, I feel like something that reminds me that my friends are my family is when I start having friendship affairs.
Oh.
Where like I'm the type of person that I love my friends and I have like my core group of friends, but then sometimes I just want to explore.
Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
I'm allowed to have friends.
You want to get the butterflies.
And then I come back to my core group and I talk about all my new friends, and then they're like, yeah. Cool.
But you can tell they're jealous.
I can tell they're jealous, and I can tell that they also know this is not going to last. So then they just wait for me, and then I just come back, and then they're like, what happened to so-and-so? And I'm like, they didn't really like me.
Fast
kind of like fizzled out. They kind of just wanted to drink every night, and they're like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. Come back here.
Can't do that with your family though.
Bring it in. Have you noticed that everyone's hair is long again? Have you two noticed this?
My hair's always long, but yes, in the world,
your hair, Jessie, is so long.
Yes. My hair is really long, and I'm going to get to the complicated psychological reasons why that is. Anne.
Yes.
Your hair is also long.
It just grows really fast. I cut it quite short though.
Are you telling me that that bob that everybody got for a hot minute, the bob as it quickly is over?
Bob hole.
They're growing it out.
Done.
They are growing it out, Holly. Your friend with that bob, she's growing it out. You see someone you haven't seen in a while. First thing you say is, oh my goodness, your hair's got long, right? Like this is just a common
Celebrities,
experience.
yep, big hair.
The New York Times is onto it. Vanessa Friedman writes that we are in a Rapunzel age and a number of factors are contributing. This is very interesting. A brief history of hair, if you'll allow me. In the Eurocentric tradition, long hair on women has always been associated with childhood and fertility, right? So cutting it or pinning it up is about maturity. It's saying like I'm an adult now.
People tell you have to get your hair cut when you become a parent.
Yep.
And as you get older.
And when you get nits.
And when you get
too.
nits.
That's when your nan wants to shave your head. As we entered modernity, it kind of changed. Like think the 1920s flapper vibe. It meant that you were like a very modern woman if you got your hair styled because of the widespread, like you could suddenly get a haircut. But this myth that older women should have their hair cut has been completely thrown out lately. Did you know that Melania Trump is the first lady ever to have hair below her shoulders?
That is wild.
In the modern era.
Because they were saying how Michelle Obama, for example, when she was first lady, had very much that sort of the straightened bob.
Yeah.
And
Hillary Clinton.
since she's been out of office, now you see Michelle Obama and she's rocking the long braids and she's got that you know, she's the hair she would never have been allowed to have when she was, I mean, for lots of reasons in that context, but she would never have been allowed to have it when she was first lady.
Exactly. So there are hormonal reasons why hair changes. We know that drop of estrogen after menopause can mean that your hair just gets dry and brittle and people just go, screw it, I'll cut it off. But all of these new treatments make a big difference. But of course, that's for people who can afford them. So that brings us to long hair in this moment is a flex.
It's a flex.
It requires good health and a certain amount of money to maintain. Because if you have longer hair, you're not just having longer hair, you want it to look shiny and luscious and all of that. And so you're spending money on it. And mix that in with a complicated gender moment, perhaps a bit of a tradwife conservatism revival. And you have an entire Trump administration where every woman looks like a carbon copy of the next. The long hair, the makeup, all of that. Holly, have you ever had your hair short? Are you someone who…
When I was a kid.
Yeah, right.
I had my hair short when I was a kid. I've got lots of photos of me with really short hair, but I've never had it shorter than my shoulders in adulthood. Like I've had it up here, like shoulder length.
Do you think it's a rebellion to just because I'm a mum doesn't mean I'm going to…
And I think that now it is definitely an act of personal rebellion to have really long hair, even though it's not very cool. And people, I mean, apparently it is now.
No, it's actually very
cool. But
it
hasn't been very cool in the last year. I remember when I went and for mid, I got my style assessed by that woman who's apparently an expert in like mature lady style. And she was like, cut your fucking hair. And people often say that to me. They're like, cut your hair. And I'm like, no, because it feels, and maybe it is like internalized ageism, it feels like me, like a younger me to have my long hair. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like that. It's interesting because I think for older women, I think it is that symbol. Like you look at a Demi Moore or whoever, you know, and they've got this very long hair. And
Nicole Kidman.
Definitely a youth play. Definitely it is. Even if it doesn't necessarily work. Like, you know, I don't think that my long hair like makes me look younger. It just makes me feel, you know what I mean? But for younger women, it's back in fashion too. And why is that?
I think that that's because of this like ultra feminine ideal.
Vibe.
And the men that I know who had long hair have just recently all cut it short. So it's almost like this confirming of the gender roles. But when I became a mum, I was like, I am absolutely not cutting my hair.
Not getting the mum bob.
I'm not doing it because I don't want to look, and I love my mum, she's great, her hair's great. But I'm like, I think every woman doesn't want to look like their mum because then you're like, I look like a mum. Yeah. I would look like my mum because when I was little in all the photos, she had short hair. And so I wonder if we all just rebel against what our mothers looked like. Like I know my mum rebels against the perm. Like my nan had the older woman had the kind of, would go and get their hair set. My mum would never do that. That's for old ladies. And so I wonder if it's kind of this pendulum shift. How about you, Em? Are you finding that your mates are growing it long?
Yeah, I think everyone tried the bob in their early 20s or mid 20s and now they're growing it out. But I have this weird thing in my head, like ever since I was young where I thought every woman wanted to have short hair, but they couldn't have short hair because men prefer long hair. So the only women who had short hair were women in relationships because they were allowed to because they
They'd already caught one.
Yeah, they already caught one. So in my head, like I just don't think I could ever do short hair.
That's funny because
I'm in a relationship.
cut my hair when I was maybe at school, like maybe 17 or something, just like quite short.
And were the boys like, oh.
Yeah. So someone said to me, you cut your hotness off, which I think was his way of saying your face sucks. And the blonde hair at least like covered it a little bit. And now I was so much face. I don't think I have the bone structure. You know that TikTok filter that tells you whether you can pull off short hair? It said to me, absolutely not.
This is the thing. Is like hair, a bit like every time they tell us that various body parts of ours are either in fashion or out. It's like that bob that everybody had for a hot minute, the bob, looks amazing on a handful of people.
Yeah.
Like amazing. But I remember when that lady told me to do it, I was like, have you seen my jawline? Like, I don't mean that to be like self-deprecating, but it's not for everyone. You know, I had one of my best mates at, when I was at college, at uni, who was definitely cool. When we had that conversation about who was cool, my friend Suzanne is the coolest. She just shaved her head. Like, just was one of those women. She was only 20. We were like, what, 20? And she just shaved her head and she looked incredible. But like the rest of us, we would have looked like potatoes if we'd have done that. So, you know, I think we can't, like, we're slave to trends. The idea that it is still deeply ingrained that men prefer longer hair in heterosexual situations is so depressing. Like, really?
Is it true? I think it's true.
Well, it's true. Culturally, it's true because it's like, why do they? Because they've been taught to.
Because we look more fertile?
Yeah, we look younger and more fertile, and culturally that's what they've always been told, you know, all the sexy you never see a lingerie model with short hair or, you know, like any kind of
Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, Victoria's Secret. When have you ever seen a Victoria's Secret model with short hair? Like that kind of very cliched male gazy idea of beauty always comes with long hair, which is why, I mean, hair isn't just hair for lots of different reasons, right? But that's one of them, is that when you cut it off, you're kind of going, cute.
It's Friday and we want to help set up your weekend with our best recommendations. Jessie.
Okay. It's not often that Jessie recommends beauty-related things, but last week I discovered that expensive hair care actually works. And this week I have terrible news, which is that I think we're using primer again.
We are.
I think we are.
Yeah.
We are.
I've also purchased a primer recently.
Yeah. So what happened was I've got quite oily skin and I was finding that I was putting my makeup on in the morning.
That's a very youthful problem to have.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Stop it. Shut up. And so I just felt like my makeup was dripping off my face by the end of the day. And I'd look in the mirror and it was patchy. And I use powder because when we film and stuff, the lights can be a bit intense.
Like a setting powder.
And I thought that was going to keep it on, but I was just having issues. So the other day I have a feeling I end up in Mecca, right? And I'm like, I came across the Laura Mercier primer and I remembered I had it years ago. I ran out and I just never refilled it. And I grabbed it. I grabbed the blurring one, which is meant to be a little bit more mattifying because I went, if I do something too glowy or hydrating, I'm just going to look really shiny. Grabbed that. I don't want to say it changed my life, but for $79, you'd hope.
Oh my God.
$79 and it's a really small bottle. So I'm horrified.
It's a good one though because it also
really
like
good.
gets rid of some pores.
You must have been having big feelings.
I was having big feelings. There's a lot going on. So apparently it hides the appearance of pores.
Yeah.
No comment on that one, but that I have
We're all
big
staring
pores.
deeply into your
my
face
one
right
can
now.
still see the pores.
Poor pores.
But what I will say is that I put that on underneath and it's like glue. Like my makeup all day is stuck. I'm not having to reapply. It's not patchy. It all goes on so much smoother. Now, $79 is a lot. So the other day, my friend was using the new Go-To one.
That's the one I bought.
Yep.
I bought the glowy.
I tried the glowy one.
I've used the matte.
Which I thought the glowy, surely I'm going to look ridiculous. not too glowy, not too shiny at all. And again, kept my makeup on all day, and it's got some skincare in it.
Yeah.
And that one's $49, so it's a little bit more affordable.
I've got a cheaper one for you.
Oh, yes, please.
Maybelline's Grippy Serum. I'm wearing it right now, actually.
You're looking very glowing.
Thank you so much.
Do you think, because primer comes in, primer goes out. I remember Lee Campbell saying on New Beauty years ago, like, nah, don't bother. But I bet I haven't heard what her current judgment is on primer, so I don't want to
just get better?
her. Maybe primer got better, but because the thing about primer is I always feel like it's just another layer. I'm already piling on like serums, moisturizer, then it's primer, then it's this and that. But you reckon it really has made a difference?
Yeah, and apparently it does seal. So what I do in summer especially is I do my sunscreen and then I put the primer over the top. And that's pretty much all I'm doing, because I was doing too many layers, and I think that's why I was looking like I'd just gotten out of the shower. So especially for oily skinned girls, I think that primer is our new best friend.
I also notice it makes my makeup easier to take off at nighttime. Like it doesn't sink in as much. I'm not scrubbing my face as much when I'm taking it off.
Look, listen to us, beauty
Look at us
experts.
go.
I know.
I've got 2 podcasts for the group.
Oh.
One of them is a Mamamia podcast. One of them is not. But the new Mamamia podcast, I might be the first person to tell you about this. I'm definitely not going to be the last, because it is unlike anything we've ever made before, and none of us have anything to do with it at all.
It's unlike anything ever made in Australia before.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's called This Is Why We Fight, and it launches today. So if you are listening to this on Friday, you need to immediately go and find this show, because what it's about is we've got a relationship expert, a properly qualified psychologist called Sarah Bays, right? And she basically does 2 separate counselling sessions with couples. Now, the couples aren't all romantic couples. Some of them are, but some of them are mother-daughter. We've got different kinds of groups of friends here. Important to note that the people who participate in this podcast are mostly drawn from the Out Louders.
Yeah.
So it is a podcast for you, featuring you Out Louders. But the idea is the couple come. It's kind of like a sort of couples therapy idea.
It's like the SBS show, which I loved, Couples Therapy, with that incredible therapist, where even though the situations might not directly mirror your life, you can get something out of every session.
There's like a perviness to obviously hearing the stories.
That are totally real.
But then a usefulness to hearing the advice.
Yeah.
So they do a session with Sarah, and then they go away and implement their homework from Sarah, and then they do another session. And I want to assure everybody that if this is giving you maths vibes or whatever, it is not. Like Mamamia in this instance, like we just took so many
so much care,
followed so many guidelines to make sure that all of this was done with as much integrity as possible.
They're all anonymous as well.
They're all anonymous, so nobody's going to suddenly find their business splashed all over everywhere. Anyway, that's all to say, you're going to be addicted to it.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. It drops today, and the first couple deals with their different definitions of cheating. Were they on a break when the man involved dated some other women? There are different recollections about that. Anyway, you need to go find it. It's called This Is Why We Fight, and it will be in your podcast feeds wherever you get it. The other one is a BBC podcast that I was recommended on the weekend and immediately listened to while I was driving, and I'm addicted to. It's called The Gift. And this is a podcast that the concept for is like, you know that you've done this, haven't you, Jessie? DNA tests, you know, like the Ancestry, the 23andMe, those tests that you do to find out about your genetic and family history and all those things.
They keep finding like long forgotten serial killers who they couldn't find for decades through their cousin's ancestry DNA test. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
So this genius podcast, The Gift, is all about that. Each episode follows a different story of a mess that came about because of an ancestry test.
We had that in my own family.
There are some in my friend group that have found out some interesting things about themselves from doing these tests.
Have you done one, huh?
I've never done one, but now I want to, because I just want to see what shit comes up. But the first, so it's not new, this show, but I've just discovered it. So there are 2 series you can listen to if you go and find it. But the first one, and the one that got me absolutely hooked, was basically about this, how a series of different testers in the UK, because this is a BBC show, there's some American stories, there's some British stories, found through doing their DNA tests that they were children of donor sperm, and they didn't know that. But then what they then went on to find out about the murky ethics about the where that sperm came from is really, really interesting, because I didn't know this, but like nearly all fertility treatments in the UK, and I'm sure in other places too, were not regulated at all until the 90s. So it was just the Wild West. So you didn't so the guy could be saying, oh, this donor sperm comes from blah, blah. And it could have just been, well, I won't tell you because that would be a spoiler. But it's such a good show. It's kind of long form storytelling. It's really good for drives, hot girl walks, etc. It's called The Gift. It's on the BBC. So that's 2 amazing long form shows for you to get into over the weekend.
How about you, Em?
Okay, I've just finished reading a book. It is called
You made that sound like you don't usually, but actually you read all the time.
I read all the time. I really recommend them because I always forget that I can. And I just think it's a really cool thing to have when you know how to read. It's pretty cool. I'm smiling because it's a new book, and I know you guys haven't read it yet because it's fresh and new. You read it?
No. I think it's on my desk though.
It's on your desk because I have a feeling it's Claire's publisher who published this book. It's called Very Impressive for Your Age by Eleanor Kirk. It's her debut novel and she's quite young. But it's about, have you noticed everyone's named Evelyn now?
Yes. Suddenly Evelyn is a hot
Evelyn
name.
is everywhere. Anyway.
Is it Aussie?
It is Aussie.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's about this character named Evelyn. She's 26 years old and she's Australian, and she's one of those like child prodigies. Like she's amazing singer. So after high school, she moves to Europe and she's currently in Germany doing these massive operas. Like she's been written about, she's doing all these amazing auditions. She's on the stage, she's singing this huge ballad. No sound comes out of her voice.
Oh, wow.
And it's about how she just completely loses her singing ability. She can talk and stuff, but when it comes to singing, no sound is coming out.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of about how what happens when the one thing you're good at, you can't do anymore. And she moves back to Australia. She now has to work back in her old high school. She's kind of like having to revert her life. It's also one of those characters that you just deeply dislike, but you want them to win.
Okay.
It is so good and also so funny. I love books that just make me laugh, and this one made me really, really laugh.
I find that one of the most interesting questions. I think it with athletes when their careers end and you go, who are you without your skill? And I think it happens to everyone at some point. And the thing you think that was part of your identity, you lose.
And also just the people around you lose as well, because I like, what use are you to me now?
Yeah.
That's true.
It's so
Sounds
good.
great.
I've heard really good things about this
What's
book.
it called again, Em?
Very Impressive for Your Age by Eleanor Kirk.
Thank you so much, Out Louders, for being here with us for another week. We love you for it. Em and Jessie, read us out.
A big thank you to our team, Group Executive Producer, Ruth Devine, Executive Producer, Sasha Tanik.
Our senior audio producer is Leah Porges. Our video producer is Josh Green.
It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Josh.
Happy birthday, Josh. And our junior content producers are Coco and Tessa.